Hi, this is Alfie Whattam. I'm London's tech recruiter and the host of the London Technology Podcast, where I speak to different tech leaders across London and the surrounding areas. Today I'm speaking to Chris. Thanks for joining us. Could you start by giving us a little bit context in terms of who you are and the kind of stuff that you're working on?
Sure. My name's Chris Bull. I'm the CTO at a company called Stitched. We are a D2C curtains and blinds e-commerce made-to-measure company. We have, we're very focused on, we're kind of trying to do everything at once. We are trying to produce very high quality, made in the UK, locally manufactured, sustainable products, and at the same time build a quite advanced platform around that so that we can really scale it up, and also using things like AR to really push the experience for the customer. So we've bitten off quite a bit.
Awesome. All right. Now, we were recording this during lockdown, or just as we're coming out of it. What's your lockdown experience been like, Chris?
It's been pretty good. Yeah, it's been so we've had a bit of a as a company, lockdown has been certainly a little bit tough at the start because we were trying to raise some money at the beginning, and then if you've spoken to anyone else, the investment markets just kind of dried up around February, March. So that put us in a bit of trouble. But of course, with everyone being stuck at home and most of our biggest competitors all being based around sending someone out to your house to measure your windows and do all of that, we revised our targets down, imagining that it was going to be apocalyptic and we just kind of see if we could do a cockroach and just survive.
Yes. Yeah.
But actually, growth has been great, and we've smashed all of our revised targets, and now so we're in the process of setting new ones, and it's actually been really good for us because I think a lot of people have suddenly just had all this time, and been able to look at their windows and go, okay, cool, we want something better for that, and then started looking online. And one, we were still open, but also on top of that, we've managed to decentralize and make our supply chain quite resilient. Mm-hmm. So we've started working with local makers, just kind of one person curtain making operations. Mm-hmm. And so now we have this really cool network of decentralized manufacturing, which is actually much higher, very high quality, and also super resilient, and has allowed us to move through COVID and actually increase the quality of the products that we offer. So yeah, it's been okay. And then personally, I just, same as everyone else, right? We're stuck at home and nervously watching as things reopen and going, not sure if I want to quite be inside a restaurant yet.
No, I'm exactly the same as you, mate. But brilliant to hear a good news story, because it's often such bleak when I ask that question, but it's good to hear that it's growing. But I suppose if you are being innovative and offering a solution which, is on the cutting edge, then it doesn't require, the sort of the post-lockdown world to have that impact on the business. So
I think it's given us the context. Beforehand, it's not like we were necessarily struggling, but obviously we had to compete against all these others, and suddenly people still wanted the product. It's a very big market in the UK, the home curtains and blinds. It's over £1 billion a year market size, but a lot of that's just been done the same way, and suddenly we've just had this opportunity for people to look at the way we're doing it and go, oh, this is actually really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, a lot of the people, Chris, that watch these videos are quite new to tech. They're IT grads. Obviously, you've been in the industry for a while. Have you got any advice for people that are just starting out in their tech careers?
God, it's hard because obviously it's a bit of a bloodbath at the moment. Normally I just say make sure that my standard advice is do what you're interested in, and feel free to pursue, if you think something's cool, learn about it. Always be curious, always be open to learning new things. We've definitely picked a stack that's not entirely easy to hire for. So when we're looking to hire people, we're looking for people who are excited to learn aspects of our stack, because we have part of our systems using Alexa. We're also building AR application and things like that. a lot of what we're doing is quite new. So like personally, I'm always looking for people who are excited, not by newness, because newness isn't interesting, but are excited about useful technologies that allow them to do things in a different way and open to learn that. So I think like just being intellectually curious is probably the biggest thing. But honestly, right now it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I guess just if it's web you're into, build and release web, build and like, you know, just build and show things, because if you can prove that you've done things by putting up websites, no matter how trivial they are, or if it's apps and you've just been really, you know, just throwing random apps into the app store, like that is really going to make someone stand out. And likewise with GitHub and open source contributions and stuff like that.
Yeah, but no, it's
yeah, I feel
regardless.
bad for this generation of graduates.
I know it's tough at the moment, but it's a good opportunity, like you say, for them to get those personal projects built and on their CV. So when they are looking for work, it's not just education they have got some experience to show and offer to an employer. So it still makes sense regardless of the situation.
Yeah, and I think like most people, it's just about the, you know, like getting a job is something of a sales pitch, and it's kind of about like what the story you've got to tell is. And it always like I'm especially because we're a small company, so I'm not hiring in massive volume.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for the people who have a kind of real clear idea of like what their kind of story is. And that doesn't mean you need to have everything all sorted out, but you know, if there's something they're really interested in, that's always a good sign.
Yeah. Absolutely. People often focus too much on the technical skills and forget the soft skills, the story, the sales presentation that it actually takes to get a job. So it's important to keep the balance. Now, when it comes, Chris, to your crystal ball in terms of the future and cutting edge tech, you mentioned AI, you mentioned Alexa, but what kind of technologies get you...
Alexa. Sorry, it's my New Zealand accent.
Alexa. I got you. Yeah. I just spent the past 3 years in New Zealand, in Auckland. So I'm going to have a chat about that in a minute afterwards. But what sort of technologies get you excited and interested in the future and you think will have a big impact on the world?
Tech that gets me excited on the web, I think Phoenix Live View is the coolest thing. Okay. But I don't know if it's going to have a huge impact on the world, because I think we're kind of past the point. I don't know if you think of that like adoption curve of like web technologies and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the classic like laggards, leaders, etc. I kind of feel like there's so many big web frameworks now that are actually really good. Like you could use Rails, you could use Laravel, you could use some patchwork node shit. Yeah. I don't like JavaScript very much. It's I think the problem for Phoenix Live View is going to be that you actually need to get people to both adopt the language and the technology. But the flip side is the technology is incredible. And so Phoenix Live View is basically it's a very simple system that takes advantage of the fact that Phoenix is a web framework built on Elixir, and Elixir is built on the Erlang VM, which is a concurrent by default, parallel by default technology stack. It's essentially the perfect stack for the web, and it has very easy concurrency primitives that allow it to do things like basically running. If you're like in Ruby on Rails and you're trying to use a WebSocket, you need to set up some sort of stateful server to do that. And normally what that means is you have to set up you have to run a separate server that is programmed slightly differently, even though Rails is trying to make it feel the same.
Yeah.
But it runs completely separately to your main application. Now you've got another moving part. If you're using Elixir and Phoenix, you just get all that for free because the programming environment and everything just works for things like that. So you can have a normal web request, or you can have a WebSocket that's actually, you know, maintaining state and keeping track of things and firing messengers back and forth.
Yeah.
So what the authors of Phoenix have done is basically take advantage of that and create a technology that pretty much allows you to write fully interactive applications that feel like single page applications.
Okay.
But there's no APIs. It's all programmed on the server. There's the tiniest bit of JavaScript on the front end just to resolve the way it works. And you get the same interactive feel of like, you know, an app like like Facebook Messenger, for example,
Okay.
like a fully interactive single page application, but you can build it all without having to write really any JavaScript. And that is incredible. And that we're using it, and that makes us so much more productive in building our kind of really interactive interfaces. But the best part is you get SEO out of the box because everything's coming from the server. You get all these extra benefits, and you don't have to write JavaScript, and you don't have to maintain two extra, or like you have to write a tiny bit of JavaScript. Like we've ripped out thousands of lines of React, and mostly it's been almost all positive. So yeah, I'm excited by Live View.
All right, awesome. Well, I definitely recommend people check it out then for those watching. Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time, Chris, and it was great to get your ideas and insights and thoughts and that sort of thing. And thanks to everybody for watching as well. Obviously, click follow for more podcasts like this daily, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks.
Cheers.